City of Anchorage, Alaska, with your hosts, Scott and Eric.
Always two there are.
And we're back. This is the second episode.
Number 2, baby.
The Upper One podcast. I'm stoked. You were in deep thought last time. I'm in deep thought now. Yeah, I'm stoked.
That scares me.
You're going to like what I got to say.
It'll be at first, but bring it on.
Something that happened this weekend that I'm pretty excited about. Where I'm going with this trended number 1 worldwide, and I'll get into that too. But I just want to say, we've had issues going on that has taken away from some of our daily lives. I'm a big NASCAR fan.
I might like where you're going with this.
I told you.
I might like where you're going with this.
I told you. I was threatening you with a good time, but you didn't know about it. You're the reason why I'm a big fan. You already know that.
Absolutely.
You know that
I educated you.
I did follow NASCAR, but it wasn't religiously until I started hanging out with you. Let's just talk about NASCAR for a little bit because my knowledge in it is because of you. We've been to one race together. No, we've been to 2 races together. Both of them were at Phoenix, but the bottom line is with the things that's going on today,
they're shutting down the races and it kills me.
Yeah.
I look forward to watching my race on Sunday.
We have some history going to races together. I've always been an Earnhardt fan. And I know you've been a Harry Gant fan.
That was my boy.
Our first race together, we got to go because I won the trip. I played video games. I'm not a diehard gamer. I like playing my video games, but I'm not a diehard gamer. But
if that's what you want to say. I'm just tired of losing to you, damn it.
You ain't first, you're last.
So anyhow, I won this race. We got to go to Phoenix. I got to see my first race. By the time this happened, Earnhardt Sr. had already died. Rest in peace. We miss seeing you on the track.
Absolutely.
By then, Dale Jr. was the man. We went into Phoenix, a Dale Jr. fan. We got to see Dale Jr. win the race in Phoenix 2004 and my first ever live race. First ever.
That was great. That was the first time that actually the driver that I was pulling for actually won the race. And I'd been to like maybe 8 races before that. Closest Harry ever got for me was second place. I didn't get to travel and be at the locations when he was Mr. September and won like 4 or 5 races in a row. But
so Junior won that race.
It was awesome.
Even to this day, I've only been to 3 races. I've been to Phoenix twice and I've been to Vegas. So anyways, where I was getting at is with all the shutdowns, all our sports are done. I mean, I'm playing hockey here in Eagle River. Well, I played hockey because they shut the MAC down. Just within the last couple of days, they've taken the ice out. So my season, we had 3 games left plus the playoffs, which were suspended, is now done. They have canceled the whole thing. So everything, sports, concerts, everything canceled or they've been shut down.
It's horrible.
It is horrible. Our country's going to adapt and overcome. But where I was going with this is this last weekend, they came out and they had a race.
Oh, the iRace. That's right.
They raced.
I was sitting there thinking, why are we talking about Phoenix? That was back in 2004 or something like that.
And 2012, which was the second one. So anyhow.
But that's right, the iRace.
So what they did was, I can't remember, was there 20 drivers? There was a few. I don't think it was more than 20.
I don't remember the exact count.
I don't think it was more than 20.
You had the best drivers from NASCAR. They were sitting there competing against each other on this iRace. And, when I first heard about it, I was kind of like, oh, my God, here we go.
Yeah, what's this going to be?
A video game. And don't get me wrong, people. I love my video games, too. There's things I enjoy doing. Racing, I like doing. Hockey, I like doing. There's certain games that I like to play.
Baseball. They broadcast on Fox Sports just like it was a normal race weekend.
And it was cool. They had Jeff Gordon and
Mike Joy
and Larry McReynolds. They were sitting there commentating.
However, they got this production. So this is an online racing game. You pay a membership and you can race in leagues. You can do all kinds of things. Like I said, I don't think there was more than 20 drivers, but of those 20 drivers, I think there were 2 names I didn't recognize, which I know were just normal league drivers of this iRacing.
They were all Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, or the Gander Outdoor Truck Series.
See,
they were all professional drivers.
Okay,
in the top 3 series.
I will believe that, but
that's why they called it, I think, the Pro Open.
Well, either way, when I watched it, I thought two of those guys were just the league racers. They weren't even professional drivers. But you had some of the normal guys. You had Denny Hamlin, you had Jimmy Johnson, Clint Boyer,
Bobby Labonte,
who
came out of retirement
who
with Dale Jr.
and Dale Jr. So Bobby Labonte and Dale Jr. are both retired from driving. But
Kurt and Kyle Busch.
There was a plethora of guys that were racing all from their homes, while Jeff Gordon and Mike Joy and Larry McReynolds were all broadcasting and even talking about broadcasting like it was a normal race.
You know, I didn't know what I was
how you were gonna feel about it.
I didn't know what I was gonna get out of that. You know, it was like, I gotta say that it was
exciting.
It was cool. You know, you're pulling for your guy. You know, I mean, and you know now my guy is Kurt Busch.
That's right,
the guy that finished last. You know, because he is not a gamer. Obviously, he is not a gamer.
But
hey,
my guy beat
Kurt,
yours.
I love you.
You know, after playing all these video games and knowing what the graphics and the graphics cards and all these computers and stuff do, I was up in the air as to how it was going to be. And you still got some of that because you could watch them wreck and the car would disappear. You know that it was going to hit the car in front of them, but it would disappear and then the graphics would put it back. But overall, it was phenomenal.
Turned out to be #1 on Twitter.
I think somewhere around lap 40, I remember Mike Joy saying we're #2 on Twitter, and not too long after that, maybe by lap, it might have even been 60. It might have just been lap 45 or 50. They had jumped up to #1 trending worldwide on Twitter. It was amazing.
I got to say, coming down to that finish.
That was one thing I did miss.
You didn't see the finish?
I think I stepped away for some reason or another. I can't remember, but I did watch about 90 of the laps. Something or other came up, and I missed the last 10 laps. But
Mama took over.
The whole point being is nobody else did this. Basketball didn't do it. Football didn't do it. Hockey didn't do it. Soccer didn't do it.
NASCAR did.
NASCAR
stepped out,
kept something
and they
going.
Took their top tier drivers and put them all together. Said, "Have at it, boys."
And on top of that, during the broadcast, just like during any NASCAR race, the pit crew and the drivers and the spotters all communicate to each other. There were times where they had Clint Boyer talking back and forth while he's racing around the track.
Driving. Yeah.
While he's driving, he's talking to Jeff Gordon and Mike Joy, and it was funny. It was hilarious.
It was actually, you know, for having nothing, you know, it was exciting to get this.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I know it's not real racing, and I know people are sitting out there probably saying,
yeah, they're having their doubts.
Video game.
They're having their doubts.
You got to understand, it was the best of the best playing this video game, and this iRacing has become realistic. You talk to these drivers, they talk about how they go out and they scan tracks. Every bump, the car is feeling that bump. Yep. Going around a track.
And from what I remember hearing on that broadcast the other day was that maybe it wasn't the broadcast, maybe I think it was Dale Jr. on his download, but they're getting ready to open back up North Wilkesboro.
They went out and they cleaned up that track so that they could get out there and scan that track.
With today's technology, they are laser scanning every aspect of everything. I mean, if you can...
Every bump.
If you can scan certain sections of your house and make a 3D model out of it and then put it on a 3D printer, why couldn't you do that with the NASCAR track and make it into a video game? And that's what they've done. And I'm excited about it.
It's created some excitement for us NASCAR fans.
Yes, for what we've lost and had to adapt to.
And I tell you what, that's right, you didn't see the finish. It came to Junior and Hamlin coming off turn 4.
Homestead, right?
Homestead. And Junior was there. He had him. And all of a sudden, Junior had to make a evasive move to keep Hamlin from hitting him.
And wrecking him.
And Junior made an evasive move that just slowed him down a little bit. And they came across the line, and I think Hamlin won. That
transition from the racing surface to the apron.
I think Hamlin won by like 4 or 5 tenths of a second.
Which, that's still... pretty good.
But it was pretty exciting coming down to the finish. And, you know, you're sitting there and us being Junior fans. I'm like, Junior's got him. He's got him. Go, Junior. Go, Junior. And I felt like I was watching a live race there coming to the finish line for a second there. I was like... That was one of the things I did. I got excited. I did.
I did.
Right.
I did talk to my wife about it because she came in the living room a little bit while I was watching it, and some of those graphics, if you don't know what you're looking at, some of them really did kind of look realistic.
Graphics have come a long way.
Now they did show all the pit stops, and you don't see the crews jumping over the walls on those video games and stuff. But that's been
you
like
could drive through a car.
Yeah, you ghost a car, right? You drive through them, but yeah, it was. Overall, I was very impressed. I hate that I second doubted what I was expecting.
Well, I applaud NASCAR.
I mean,
do.
I second guessed what
iRacing for putting this together and giving us something while we're quarantined at home.
Well, my question is,
some kind of racing to watch.
Was NASCAR
and
actually
our drivers are there?
Was NASCAR actually a part of this, or was it just Fox?
No, I believe it was a coordination of NASCAR, iRacing. I think Jimmy Johnson was the one that started to put it all together.
Really?
I'm not positive on that. Don't quote me on that. But I think Jimmy Johnson was one that was helping to put it all together.
Since you just brought up Jimmy Johnson, there's something else that we haven't really talked about. And they had video cameras of these guys in their homes, like Clint Boyer. Clint was sitting at a desk like he was sitting at his laptop. Jimmy had 2 or 3 screens that were right there.
What about Denny Hamlin? He was in a cockpit.
Denny, yeah, and pretty much Jimmy too. But Jimmy had his little seat custom made, and he was leaned back, and he was shifting like he was Formula One racing. But I mean, they had
because he's practicing, because there's talk of Jimmy Johnson running Indy cars and doing some of that after his retirement at the end of this year.
And I like to see that. You're a big name in the sport. You're a 7-time champion. You ought to be racing the Indy 500 and other races like that.
But he's getting a chance of working with the paddle shifters and that. But so he's set up with one of those.
My point being was that they have their own little cockpits custom made for them, and they could get in. And I'm jealous because that's what I've always wanted to do while I was playing on my PlayStation. But I'd spend more money on that cockpit than I did on the whole game.
We can fix it now. It's out of our tax bracket.
So, anyways, that's the whole.
But it was a good time.
It was a good time. I literally, like I said,
we're trapped at home. Find some time to enjoy it, and that did it for me. That helped me.
Every little aspect with this hunker down situation that you can still enjoy your normal life is adapting and overcoming what we're going through right. And that was the whole point. This iRacing thing, I hope it takes off.
I got back to drinking beer and watching NASCAR.
So yeah, that was my whole thing. You started off last week's episode with a thought, and this was my thought to start this one off.
There you go. And I like your thought. I like the way you think, man. Nothing like some NASCAR, man. And it was good. It was a good break. I like where you went. I got to give you props.
Like I said, I hope as long as we're going through this, I hope that they keep something like this going. It was entertaining, and it was fun and exciting.
I think I did hear something. I'm not positive, but I think I did hear something about possibly Sunday, another event, and I think they're talking about Texas.
Well, that's a fun track, too. That's a fast track.
That's a fast track.
That's a sight to be seen. Let's just move on.
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about was some of the fun we have when we all get together and we play games.
As a family.
Yep, absolutely. And we play these card games and we have a good time.
I better go fill up the beer. I know where you're going with this. But one of the games that we play, we've had dinner over at your brother-in-law and sister's house. This game was Cards Against Humanity. We had the fire pit going. I don't remember whose card it was.
Oh my gosh. Seriously, it was your wife.
Whatever the question was, it was funnier than hell. And you put your answer down. And I think it was a 1-card answer.
I don't know why you got to go there with me, because y'all have dogged me for the last 3 years about this.
I don't remember what the black card said, but somebody thought it was funny, and the word on his card was quiche.
Don't know who that was.
And the funny thing was, he thought it was coochie. And at least I know the difference between coochie and quiche.
It didn't work out real well for me. Go ahead, keep pushing.
What is there to push?
You don't remember the nights that we're sitting around and we're playing heads up?
I know which night you're talking about.
Does anybody know what kind of answer you could give?
If this is going where I think it's going, if you got kids listening to this, you better send them out of the room.
You might.
You probably better send anybody under the age of 13, maybe 12 or 12 and a half. You better send them out of the room. Parental advisory for future content.
Oh, my Lord.
One person gets the phone. You hold it up and you can't see it, and everybody else in the circle can see it. So there's a phrase, there's a time limit. As soon as that phrase comes up, you can't say any words that's on that phrase, but they start hollering out clues. And if you get it right, you tip it down, tip it up to pass if you don't get it. You're going to try to bust my balls on it.
We're all sitting there. It comes up, a wet dream. Wasn't a lot of us given many clues. We were thinking. We're trying to figure out, what are you going to say to come up with a wet dream?
And I don't remember. It was pretty quick.
And all of a sudden.
No pun intended.
All of a sudden. Yeah. Oh, my God. All of a sudden, Scott comes blurting out with dropping balls in bed. We all lost it. Needless to say, nobody guessed the answer. We spent the rest of the time just dying laughing.
They were rolling around on the floor.
Laugh.
The bottom line
Could
is,
not believe what.
Like I said,
what did he just say?
Rhonda probably, I would put money on it if we were in Vegas. She probably still has the video on her phone. And you could see everybody's reaction because there's been some other doozies in it, and I'm not the only one, so I don't feel bad, and I'm not embarrassed for nothing.
We'll have to find out if there's any way we can post that.
If she'll give it to me, I can upload it on the Instagram page. That's a little bit of our extracurricular activities when we're not watching sports and we're having family dinners and enjoying everybody's company.
Playing video games and talking about coochie and dropping balls in bed.
All right, on the phone we got...
Whoa.
What?
Let me introduce my son.
On. Take it away.
On the phone, my son, Chris Lambert, coming to you from Norfolk Naval Base in Virginia. Just want to welcome him to the show and his first appearance on the Upper One podcast.
How you doing, Chris?
Ooh, I'm doing all right. How are y'all?
We're good. Guess what? It was 50 degrees when I drove in today.
Oh, yeah?
Finally warming up
50
around
degrees
here.
and raining today.
It's almost breakup.
Oh,
so,
it's breaking up out there. My windshield looks like hell.
Amidst all this coronavirus stuff, it's been a while since we talked to you. We wanted to kind of see what you got going on. How's the Navy handling this? What are they doing with y'all? How are you guys taking your precautions down there?
Down here, we're pretty much leaving. It's up to the command. So wherever you're at, it's up to their discretion. But for my ship, we are on a travel ban. So we can't go more than 75 miles away from base. We can't fly anywhere. We can't have our families come see us or anything like that. So
it's a good thing you got everything out of the way a while ago. I don't know, what's it been, 3 weeks ago or so now?
Yeah.
When you had Catherine down there to visit you?
Yeah.
Well, at least that was good. At least you got that out of the way.
Myself, I'm just wondering, are they doing any testing or anything of that nature when you're coming on and off to base? Are they checking you to see if you have a fever or anything? I know right now, for me to go to work, I got to have my temperature taken every day before I'm allowed on the job site. I'm just curious, is the military base doing anything like that? Any kind of testing to check you guys before you even come on to the base?
Not the base. To get onto my ship, at least, you get on and medical staff is right there and they check everybody's temperature.
That's good.
But for the last week or so, they've been making everybody go to medical, fill out a waiver and get checked by them to make sure they're, not sick.
Yeah,
and then if they deem you, not sick or whatever, you get a green sticker to put on your military ID. And then anytime you're getting onto base or onto the ship, you have to show your military ID. And if they see it's green, they know you're good.
So they're not worried about anybody changing in between?
I'm not sure if you get any symptoms, like if you start coughing, they're going to send you home for a minimum of 14 days. And if you have any symptoms come up, you have to let them know immediately so they can take the right precaution. Down here at Portsmouth, the Navy hospital, they're having a bunch of people come in to get fully tested. After people start getting symptoms, the ships will send them there.
What do they got going on when you get there? Do they put out hand sanitizing stations or do they recommend you getting jars to keep in your pocket to hand sanitize and wash your hands often and, other precautions like that?
Yeah, they tell us to wash our hands all throughout the day. There's a rise in hand sanitizer. It's here when you walk up onto the ship through the hangar bay. They have a little table full of sanitizer and now before the chow line, but that's about it.
Well, that's
The rest
cool.
is
I
just
mean,
wash your hands.
it's a whole countrywide thing, and it's very, nice to see that not us as civilians, how we're going through it too, but you guys are restricted to base. So what are they?
Well, they're the important people.
Oh,
we need them to be safe.
I never said they weren't. I absolutely love our military. I respect
we need them to be safe and ready to go.
Yeah, I respect every aspect of what they do for us, to provide our freedoms. But what are they doing for work? They're telling people up here, be cautious. If you, like you said, if you don't feel good, don't go to work.
Well, hell, they're shutting down the places unless it's an essential
job. Have they cut anything out for you? Or
whenever it's your duty section day, it means you have to stay on the ship all day. And in case anything happens or they need people, you're the one who deals with it. The reactor officer has made it to where it's duty section only. So you only go into work once every 3 days and then you go home for the other 2 and just do that.
Granted, I don't condone getting out of work all the time, but what we're going through right now, this pandemic, something that this country hasn't seen in about 100 years or more, some kind of weird stuff.
Yeah, they're trying to limit people on the ship at a time. That way, in case somebody does come onto the ship sick, it's only going to affect a smaller portion of people. So they're trying to keep it as minimal as possible and just essential personnel pretty much.
Other than that, have you been sticking to staying home, or have you?
Yeah.
Do you still get out and maybe go out and walk and get out and into the air and exercise?
Yeah, I mean, I stay at the apartment most of the time, but they still have the on-base gym open, but they close it every 3 or 4 hours to clean it and sanitize it.
There was that toilet paper craze, but with the hand sanitizer and disinfectant wipes and stuff like that, I know that's been a big deal. Have you knowingly been around anybody or know anybody directly that has gotten sick?
I know people who just have just allergies, stuff like that, but
well, it's springtime.
Who's sick.
And that's part of this problem too, is you're seeing, as it is still cold and flu season because we're getting into the spring. So people have hay fever and they have allergies, and you don't really know if you're sick from this virus or if you're just sick normally. So that's why they're taking such precautions with this.
I know down here a lot of the blossoms and whatnot, they're all starting to come back out and the trees are starting to get leaves and the bushes are getting greener.
Oh yeah, down there they always have that Washington blossom thing that goes on. I remember that from when I used to live back east. In the springtime, you'll be amazed. I know this is going to be your first springtime down there on the East Coast. You'll be amazed at what the spring looks like when all the blossoms come out.
Especially the cherry blossoms. I think there's a whole lot of
cherry blossoms. Yes,
yeah.
I know there's.
I've been noticing some of the willow trees and some of the other birch trees are the ones, that bud their little flowers and their leaves. They're already starting to do that out here in Eagle River. And I noticed in your dad's neighborhood that things are getting warm. The earth is thinking it's springtime a little bit. Somebody posted on Facebook down in Haines, some of the brown bears are already starting to come out of their dens. So everything thinks it's springtime except for
Mother Nature.
Well, Mother Nature. I mean, but
she's starting. She's coming around.
Anyways, well, Chris, we talked to you before on your birthday, and we hope that you've had a good birthday month, having to adapt and overcome with what's going on. And I don't want to keep you. I know it's getting late down there. You probably want to get back to modern warfare.
And like I've told you before, I am super proud of you, son. And I love you and miss you.
You're not the only one, Eric. Chris, it stole my heartstring when I knew that you enlisted in the Navy, buddy. I'm super proud of you myself.
Uncle Scott.
The big baby, right?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I love y'all.
We love you too. Hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Get you involved in maybe a little bit more down the line on this podcast.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Looking forward to it.
Hey y'all, this is Scott coming at you solo as I finish up this podcast. And before anyone gets a wild hair strategically inserted in a certain orifice, Eric does not have the virus. We just felt it best that I stay home due to the new restrictions on essential travel provided by our mayor and our governor. So with that being said, I would like to send a big kudos out to Chris and thank you for joining us on this episode. We hope to get you back in the future. Also, my wife, thank you for for the small sound bite we did that I included in this episode. And last but not least, as we did not get to it last week, Dan, thank you for the opening sound intro to this podcast. And thank you for your blessing when I called and asked you about using Upper One, your phrase, using Upper One as the name of our podcast. That was something you always referred to Alaska as, and I thought it best to include that as a tribute to you in our podcast and the name. Hopefully we can get you on someday too. I know you got a lot going on in Idaho, but it's been a while and I would absolutely love to have you. Thank you, Dan. Again, from both of us, the bottom of our hearts. If anybody has any questions or feedback, we would greatly appreciate it. Our email address is upper_1_podcast@yahoo.com. That's upper1 We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and now Instagram. Everything is Upper One, the same, all lowercase, _1_podcast, Upper One Podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. On behalf of myself and Eric, who cannot be here to finish this podcast, thank you so much. We hope we're entertaining enough that we can keep this going. This is Scott signing off from Eagle River Valley. We look forward to episode 3, bringing it to you. Thank you so much again from myself and Eric. See you then.